I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com. Today we're going to make chocolate cupcakes, and this is what they look like. This cupcake has a really moist texture and a rich chocolate flavor, and then we're going to top it with a chocolate kind of fudgy tasting frosting. It's so good. And then if you want, you can put some sprinkles on top. So the first thing that you will need to do is to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. And then you will need a 12-cup muffin pan. Now you can just spray the inside of the muffin cups with like a non-stick spray, or you could lightly butter them. But today I'm going to use the paper liners. And then if you have a stand mixer like I do, then use your paddle attachment, or you could use a hand mixer for this as well. The first thing we have to do, now the chocolate flavor in this cupcake comes from unsweetened cocoa powder. And you will need a half a cup, which is 50 grams of unsweetened cocoa powder. You can use either the natural unsweetened or the Dutch process, whichever you have in the house and whichever you like. And what I'm going to do is dissolve it first in a hot liquid, and that's going to really bring out that the chocolate flavor of the cocoa. So there's two options here. You could take 1 cup, 240 milliliters of just boiling water, or what I'm going to do here is use 1 cup, 240 milliliters of hot coffee, because I really like, chocolate coffee. Perfect to me. So either one. And if you're using coffee, you can use freshly brewed, or you can make some instant, whichever one. And then just put your cocoa powder in there and then just stir it. Now you're going to have to do this ahead of time because it's hot and you want it to cool down to room temperature. So just, keep stirring until all that cocoa powder is dissolved. I've already done that ahead of time, so then we can just carry on and do our batter. So the first thing you will need is a half a cup, 113 grams of butter. Have your butter at room temperature. You can, as you know, if you've watched the videos, I like unsalted butter. I prefer the flavor, and I like to regulate the salt in the recipe. But again, if you have your favorite salted butter, then you can use that by all means. So I'm just going to beat this until it's nice and smooth. Okay. And as always, periodically scrape down the sides and the bottom of your bowl to make sure everything gets mixed together. And the next thing you will need is 1 cup, that's 200 grams of granulated white sugar. And I'm going to add, got a little there, 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of pure vanilla extract. The vanilla is for flavoring. You can leave it out, but chocolate, coffee, vanilla, perfect combination there. So now I'm going to beat this on medium-high speed until everything gets mixed together, and we want to get a little air in there, so until it's light and fluffy. I'm going to say like 2-3 minutes. Okay. So this is what you're looking for. It's lightened in color. It's nice and fluffy. So next, we're going to add 2 large eggs. Have your eggs at room temperature, and that would be by weight about 100 grams of eggs. And I'm going to add the eggs one at a time, beat one in, and then I'll add the second one. Whoop. Okay, and the second one. Okay, give that a scrape. Okay, so now in a separate bowl, I have 1 1/3 cups, which is 175 grams of all-purpose flour. You may know that as plain flour. To that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of baking powder. that out. 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon, 2 grams of salt. And I'm just going to whisk that. You could sift it together. You want to make sure that the baking powder, baking soda, and salt are, thoroughly mixed into your flour. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to add the flour in 3 additions, and we're going to alternate that with the cocoa mixture in 2. So I'm just going to add, about 1/3 of the flour. Just eyeball it. I'm going to beat that in. Medium-low speed. You don't want that flour coming up in your face. Okay. And then 1/2 of our cocoa. Okay, a little more of our flour. Just give that a quick scrape. Okay, and the rest of our cocoa mixture. And the rest of our flour. Okay, so we're done. So really what this is just, a chocolate butter cake batter that we're going to take and make cupcakes. Okay, looks good. That in there. So we're going to fill I like to fill my the muffin cups about 3/4 full. Some people, if you don't, I like my cupcake to actually come up over the top of the paper so that when it's baked and we put on the frosting, you can see not only the frosting, but I like to see a little bit of the cupcake so people can know, okay, that's a chocolate cupcake. If you want that, then fill them about 3/4 full. Some people like to just have the cake like even with the liner. Then, use a little less, maybe 2/3 full. I'll leave that up to you to decide which way you want to do it. Now, you can fill your muffin cups, you can use just a couple spoons. I actually like an ice cream scoop because I just find it easier. So, about that much. Looks good. Okay, so the last one. Now, if you didn't fill your muffin cups as much as I have done here and you have a little extra batter, then bake these off and then you can bake off the rest if you have more batter. So now, baking. Everyone's oven is a little different. Important thing is not to overbake. You don't want them dry. So I'm going to say, 18 minutes, 20 minutes. But really, whenever you're baking something, any cake, check it. If the baking time's 18 minutes, check it, maybe it's 16, just kind of feel it. And what you're looking for, it be springy to the touch. And when you take a toothpick, insert it into the center, it will come out clean. You will get you might get some cracking on the top of the cupcakes. Don't worry about that. That is normal for chocolate cupcakes. So I'm going to say 18 to 20 minutes. So our chocolate cupcakes are done. See, they've risen, and there is some cracking, and when I touch it, it kind of springs back. So I put the muffin or the cupcake pan on a wire rack. I'm going to let them cool like this for a couple minutes, and then I'll use my spatula to remove them and put them on a wire rack to finish cooling, because we want them at room temperature before we cover them with our frosting. So that's up next, our chocolate frosting. So now for our chocolate frosting, first you will need a saucepan of simmering water, and then in a heat-proof bowl, I like to use stainless steel, you will need 4 ounces, which is 115 grams of unsweetened chocolate. Now, unsweetened chocolate is very bitter. It's like no sugar added to it. It's the chocolate you don't want to like eat right on its own because it's very bitter. But it makes a frosting that's really chocolatey, which is what I'm after here. So I'm using these, they're discs. You can also buy it in bar form, and if you do that, then just coarsely chop it. And then what we're going to do is just put it over the simmering water and then just melt it. Okay, so our chocolate has melted, so take it off the heat. And then it's quite warm, so we don't want to put it into a frosting right now. So what I'm going to do is just let this cool down to room temperature. And another thing, over the years, some people have said that they can't find unsweetened chocolate. If you can't, then you could make this frosting, just use an equal amount of either bittersweet or semi-sweet chocolate. Of course, keep in mind that your frosting is going to be a little sweeter than if you used the unsweetened. So now for our chocolate frosting, if you have a stand mixer, use your paddle attachment, or you could use a hand mixer for this. First thing we need is 2/3 of a cup, which is 150 grams of butter. Again, have your butter at room temperature. And again, you can use the unsalted or salted. And I'm just going to beat that just until it's nice and smooth. Okay. The good thing about beating your butter until smooth is if your butter is a little cold, which mine just happened to be today, then the beating will soften it. So kind of a 2 things advantage of doing that. So now I'm just going to remove that bowl. So what we want to do is sift 1 1/3, which is 160 grams of confectioner sugar. You may know that as either powdered or icing sugar. And it typically, and mine does, it's very lumpy. So sifting it, get rid of that. I'm just using a strainer. If you actually have like a sifter, you can use that as well. Okay, and then I'm also going to add 1.5 teaspoons, 6 grams of pure vanilla extract. The vanilla is for flavoring. Again, if you don't want to add that, you can just leave it out. So now I'm going to beat this slowly at the beginning because I don't want that powdered sugar coming up. And then I'm going to increase the speed to medium high and then beat it for, a minute or 2 just to get it mixed together and then light and fluffy. Okay, so as you can see, all mixed together, nice and light, fluffy. So now I'm going to add the melted chocolate that's cooled down. You want to make sure it's cooled down to room temperature. If it's a little warm, then your frosting is going to be soft. Now, if that does happen, because, it happens to everyone sometimes, rushing it, just put it, you'll have to just put it into the refrigerator to, chill your frosting and it'll firm up. So don't worry if that happens. I have had it happen. Okay, so add all that chocolate. So again, I'm going to beat this in until it's nice and all mixed together. And then I'm going to beat it a little longer because again, I'd like to get it nice and light and fluffy. Okay, our chocolate frosting is done. Smells so good in here. So now, for the frosting of your cupcakes. You know, for every day, what I, a lot of times do is just, take a little frosting and just, put it around. Like so. You don't have to get too fancy. And then, we'll put sprinkles. It's not just kids that like sprinkles. I like sprinkles. Or sometimes if you have like the little mini chocolate chips, they're good too, because then you get 3 different types of chocolate. But today I'm also going to show you, I've got a piping bag, and then I put in a star tip, open star. I'm using I think it's a Wilton 1M for that. And then you put that in there, and then we'll just fold. Put some frosting in there. And of course, if you have typically I always frost my cakes or my cupcakes, or even cakes with that tip. It's kind of my signature way of doing my cupcakes. If you have a different tip that you like to use on yours, by all means, your style. I'm just gonna get the air out of your bag. Otherwise you get those air pockets, which we don't want. So just put your frosting, squeeze it down, try to get the air out. Just open your bag up and close it. And then, once you have all your frosting in, I always twist the bag and then hold it in one hand like this, and then you can use your other hand as a guide. If you're new to this, and then just wait till it comes down to the end and you are ready. Really, if you're new to it, it just takes a little bit of practice. So just pipe as much as you want on the top of your cupcake. Like so. Looks good. I'll just show you a couple, and then just, and then of course we need our sprinkles. Okay, and there you have chocolate cupcakes. Everyone will love these. So let's try one. I think I'll just do this one. So if you can see, I put in enough batter so that you can see the top, the chocolate cupcake here over the top of the liner. I like that. So people aren't guessing what it is. It is a chocolate cupcake. And I'll just cut off a little bit. And this too, see, I'm not like, some people like tons of frosting. I kind of like this amount. You got probably double the amount of cake to frosting. That's kind of my way I like it. Of course, if you like half and half, then go ahead. That's, I'll say so myself. I love these chocolate cupcakes. Do not overbake. They are very moist, a really nice, rich chocolate flavor, kind of a fudgy frosting. And, the deep chocolate flavor of the frosting counters the sweetness of the cupcake. I think it's really nice. They're really good, the day you make them. A lot of I usually store them in the refrigerator. I live in a hot climate. But I kind of like that. I like them cold. And also, you will find the first day you make it, that frosting is going to be, you're using unsweetened chocolate. It's going to be pretty sharp. But if you cover and store them overnight, you will notice that the chocolate flavor, especially of the frosting, does, kind of soften. So either way is really good. And you can freeze these as well. So try these. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.